unpaid volunteers, when we've produced the photographs and the videos of clear breaches of the conditions, of environmental conditions, clear cases of non-compliance, the state government tell us, oh, we'll look into it. But we can't tell you what the result of that inquiry will be. We can't tell you if we're going to prosecute anybody. We can't tell you what we've done or what we haven't done. That's the kind of Orwellian world that we're living in with the state government and the Department of Environment and Science at the moment. As I said before, you need to keep the pressure up. One of the things that you can do, which I only just touched on, but it's very important, when any of these, I thank Greg Cimello for raising some of these issues, when any of these applications come up, there will be opportunities for people to have their say. And it is important that you do have your say. Don't think, oh, well, Jim Dodrell said it doesn't matter. It does actually matter. And it's on the record that you said something and that you objected to it. Now, those objections or those submissions you can do yourself if you think, you know, I've got enough information here, or come to us, contact us. For the last couple of big development applications that have gone through council by Cleanaway and BMI, we've actually put together a draft objection for people to, that you can either use part of it, you can use the whole lot of it and put your name to it. But what we're trying to do is we're trying to help you to add your voice, okay? So don't ever think, oh, it's too hard, you know, I'm not a legal expert or anything like that. You can do it and we can help you do it, okay? So we're all in it together. We're all in it to help each other. We already, in summarising, we already have pollution. We need to force the state government's hand to enforce the conditions of current licences, and we need to force the state government's hand to stop this incinerator going ahead. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Jim. So our next speaker, we have Stephen Castles. So Stephen lives very close to where the proposed incinerator is. He's really concerned as a parent. You know, we've heard a lot about the effects on children, so Stephen will be speaking about that.
Good morning. As mentioned, my name is Stephen Cantle and I'm a concerned resident. I'm not an accomplished politician, so I'll try and present cleanly. But I want to state that everything that I'll say to you this morning is all based on actual fact, and you can easily get this information from cancer.org.au, which is the Australian Cancer Council. I live in a suburb of Commonwealth Park. I'm here to talk to you today about my observations of the dump at Newchum. What is a cancer cluster? Cancer rates in our suburbs, which neighbour the toxic dumps. And I was going to touch on our honourable politicians, but I think that's already been done, it would be redundant. So I'll just get on to what I've seen and observed in Commonwealth Park. I live in perfect line of sight of the Newchum dump. And what I have observed is the dust plumes that rise from the site regularly. I have observed bizarre burning patterns which used to occur on the weekends, which then shifted to night, and now more recently, early hours of the morning. We can't leave our windows open during the night because we'll be woken up with the smell that's like a burning plastic and whatnot. What is a cancer cluster? Again, this is referenced from cancer.org, which is Australian Cancer Council. A cancer cluster generally features an unusual high number of the same type of cancer occurring in a group of people with a common exposure, be it where they live, where they work, or some other unusually long-term exposure to an agent that has brought about the cancer. To give you an example of a cancer cluster, in 2006, the ABC building in Toowong was identified as a cancer cluster. Of the 500 odd female staff, only 10 women were diagnosed with an invasive breast cancer between 1994 and 2006. Apparently, this was a six-fold increase compared to what they would usually expect. As a result, the ABC moved the entire office away from the Toowong site. This was a result of only 10 cases. Last year, the Australian Cancer Council released the Cancer Atlas, and it was released to the public. You can get to that by going to http://atlas.cancer.org.au. In there, it'll be very graphical. You'll see all our suburbs. And then if you refine the query down to lung cancers or respiratory illnesses, Rebang Plains alone has a 48% above the Australian average of lung cancer. Collingwood Park has a 24% above the Australian average of lung cancer. Bellbird Park has a 23% above the average rate of cancer. This has concerned me greatly as my family has been affected by this. Last year, my missus had a large growth removed from her throat. Our family asthma has gotten worse to the point where the asthma preventatives are no longer effective. In my recent mocking of our local representatives with facts, I've been contacted with people with their stories about cancer. I know of a person who has died of lung cancer in Collingwood Park as recent of last year. I know of a case of a lady who has had lung cancer in Ripley. What disturbs me is the people who have these illnesses and the people who have died no longer have a voice. They can't say thanks very much for allowing this incinerator or this toxic dump to be put in the middle of suburbs. I'm curious about how this was allowed, and I guess I'll ask the town planner later, but how the hell did a toxic dump get approved in the middle of suburbs where we live? I've asked Andrew Antonelli this, I've asked many politicians this. I've actually even been blocked by Jennifer Howard on her Facebook because I ask her direct, honest questions and factual stuff. As soon as you mention facts and they don't like the hearing of it, they tend to block you or ignore you. So that's been my journey with all this. I didn't ask to be part of this, but I've felt that I've been thrusted in this. I didn't make the decision to put the dump in my backyard. It was the so-called elected representatives and the council approving this. I do appreciate, Greg, you being here and being honest with us this morning about that, but I do feel more could be done. So anyway, that's all I have to say.
Thanks, Stephen, and you're right, more does need to be done. And so today, this is just one more step that we're taking in that direction. So next we've got Linda Rush. So she's a representative from the Zero Waste Ipswich Facebook group. Get Linda out, so she's here to talk a little bit more on that topic about the circular economy.
Hello everyone. I've never been a public speaker. I've never spoken in my 53 years, but I feel very strongly about what's happening in Ipswich. Some of you might wonder what the zero waste economy or the zero waste living has to do about the incinerator being built. It has everything. The incinerator is a sign that our system is broken. Currently we work on a linear economy, which we take new and natural resources and we create, we consume, and then we discard. Some things we use for only a moment, like a straw or a piece of packaging, and some things we use for years, like clothes and cars. But in the end, it all goes to landfill. It is estimated that only 9% of plastic is actually recycled. And since China stopped taking our recycling, it now sits in large amounts in storage. Nobody seems to know what to do with it, and burning is a lazy solution. Every year we reach a day that is known as Overshoot Day. Overshoot Day is the day when we have used more from nature than our planet can renew in a whole year. In 1987, Overshoot Day was the 23rd of October, and in 2018, Overshoot Day was the 1st of August. We are currently running our planet in the red. If we were a business, we would be considering going into bankruptcy. Our resources are not like that packet of Tim Tams that never ends. Our resources are finite and we are mismanaging them. What we need to do is move towards a circular economy, one of recycling, reusing, repairing, repurposing. The problem with this is nothing is made to last, nothing can be fixed and not much recycling is happening. There is no right of repair, meaning when you buy something, there is no requirement for the manufacturer to actually make spare parts for it. Essentially, things have a short lifespan and you are expected to just go and buy a new one. This is an unsustainable practice both financially and environmentally. Some people would argue that the circular economy is not financially viable, but 40 years ago or more, that's what it was like. There was lots of businesses who repaired things. The milkman took your bottles back to be washed, as did the soft drink companies, and people made clothing and mended it. There was more service industries back then than there is now. Instead of an incinerator, an investment could be made in the future of job creation. A glass recycling plant or a paper recycling plant would be more beneficial to the residents of Ipswich than an incinerator. The incinerator solution is the result of years of ignorance and apathy. It is a symbol of a broken system. How can you help and what can you do? While we need a massive shift in attitude from governments, councils and businesses, large and small, we also need a shift in our own thinking and attitudes. The throwaway society can no longer exist. Aiming at a zero waste lifestyle or as close as you can get is a solution. Zero waste philosophy encourages the redesign of resource life so that all products are reused. The goal is for no more waste to be sent to landfill, incinerators or ocean, and that waste does not become a threat to environment and human health. Zero waste is more of a goal or an ideal, something which we're always working towards. It is replacing the unsustainable product with a sustainable, such as swapping your plastic toothbrush for a bamboo. I have been working towards zero waste lifestyle for 3 years and I live by the 80-20 rule. 80% of what I consume is sustainable and 20% is not. Our bin has only a few things in it every week and we are part of the pollution, so we must be part of the solution. We cannot rely upon governments to lead the change. It's everyday people that apply pressure to create change, and that begins with what you consume. If you are interested in zero waste living, go to the Zero Waste Living Facebook page. How we live is important, but standing up and speaking out in a protest group is also important to help create meaningful change. We need leaders for our town and its environment with passion, someone who wants to protect the quality of life for Ipswich residents, and at this point I don't know who that person is. I will conclude with this. The definition of stupid is doing the same thing and expecting a different outcome. We all need to change, and I'd just like you to think about that.
Thank you so much, Linda, and you're absolutely right. The Zero Waste Facebook group is very, very supportive of people starting to make that change, so don't think you need to go in there and be making big, overwhelming lifestyle changes straight away. One step at a time, and that's what they encourage. They're very supportive. Our next speaker is Jim Basil from the Ipswich Ratepayer and Residents Association.
Thank you. We are the Ipswich Ratepayers and Residents Association. I am the secretary, and we exist primarily to have your issues heard throughout the community. We hear all the issues you have. We take them into account, we listen, and then we take them to people like Greg Chimello or to your state politicians or to federal or whoever. And we're also looking to empower you so everybody can take ownership of this. Not just a few people, not just all of us here, but everybody in the community. So to that end, there are certain things that I think we can all do to help out. A bit of a call to action. As said by Greg Chimello, we can look into the planning and regulation. It's always really good to know exactly what the processes are, so we're informed. Then we can go to social media, Facebook groups like the Zero Waste Group, and completely talk to everybody about this. Get it in the community. Be it Ipswich, be it Brisbane. If you think Remondis will stop at Ipswich, you've got another thing coming. If they're successful in Ipswich, they'll move to the rest of Queensland. We have to nip it in the bud right here and now. Next, we realise that we're not the experts. We don't know everything. but groups like Irate do. So we work with Irate, so if you have any burning questions, we can direct you to Irate and they can answer them for you with all the expert knowledge they have. And also with their role in putting in submissions. We, the Ipswich ratepayers, also put in many submissions on your behalf. Just like we did with koalas, just like we did with the council, we'll do this again. But even though they're written by us, there will be information sourced from the public. It'll be what you want goes into our submissions. We exist primarily to help the public have a better Ipswich. Because we believe information is power. Unlike so many other politicians, unlike Ramondas, unlike other people in the community who don't want us to have information and call us the noisy minority, we are the majority. We believe information is power, and the more information we can supply all of you, the better, so you can make the right decision for your Ipswich, so we can make Ipswich great again.
Thanks so much, Jim. So, Jim, as I said, he's Ipswich Ratepayers and Residents Association. He also does have a clipboard there, so you can approach him afterwards and give him your email address, and he can get in contact with you should you wish to join the fight. So next, Joanne Miller couldn't be here today, so we do have a representative from her office, Steve Axe, to read a statement on behalf of Joanne.
Thank you. Apologies for Joanne. She's had a long-standing family commitment interstate. But I just wanted to acknowledge the traditional owners on the land on which we meet today and acknowledge their elders past, present and emerging. I can't go past saying that without also passing on Joanne's deep solidarity with the people at Deebing Creek this week. And if Daniel's still here, can we pass on that if the developers and the police are going to carry on like that again, they can arrest us too. As many as you know, Joanne's used to long fights. It took us a long time to fight the corruption, nepotism and bullying that was in the Ipswich City Council. Those issues took a long time to fight because they were fighting the powers and the vested interests in Ipswich that these things are also fighting against. So this day is our first day. It's the first day of a lot of things for many people, many of you here today. But it'll be a long fight, it won't be a short fight. As Greg Camello said before, the Ramondas has put in an application in December, but with no community consultation. Many of you here today would not have known that they've made that application already. And that's a disgrace. They should be involving our community. They should be engaging our community. If they've got nothing to hide, they would be doing that with open arms. So it's time to stand up, Ipswich. Many of the speakers before have raised some very serious issues on health, and I won't get into that too much. But what we did was we commissioned the Parliamentary Library to do a bit of a comparison with us to Brisbane, Gold Coast, Toowoomba, Rockhampton, Townsville and Logan. And what we asked them to look at was the rates of respiratory system disease, asthma and chronic obstructive pulmonary disease. All except for Toowoomba and Rocky had lower rates than us. Rocky and Toowoomba are about the same. Sadly, all of them have lower mortality rates than Ipswich. So we have more suffering, more dying than any other comparable city. Is this something we should be proud of in Ipswich? Are these figures an indicator that we can trust the waste industry companies? Are these figures something that show that we can trust the regulators, that these things aren't going to be affecting our health? Joanne Lyon is doing everything she can within the government and within the Parliament, but we must stand together as a community. It's time to stand up. Joanne will be there with you shoulder to shoulder the whole way, but we must as a community engage our friends, engage our neighbours, engage our family. Tell them what's going on. Talk at the hairdresser, at the pub, at the coffee shop, in the streets and in the newsagents. It's time to stand up. Our next step is to send a newsletter to every resident in our community. And that newsletter is going to give you information about developments. It's going to give you information about where to go to lodge those objections. It'll give you information about where to go to get the information you need to lodge those objections. Because Ipswich is not a dump. We'll be there with you shoulder to shoulder. And this is the start of a long battle that's going to take a long time. There are other alternatives, there are other places, there are better options, as we've all heard. Incinerators around the world, if you look at them, are all in working class areas, whether it's the UK, the US, and even Paris. We're a proud city, we're proud of our city, and that's why we're all here today. And I'm very proud to see so many people here today. Let's be proud of Ipswich because of its people. Let's be proud of Ipswich because of our history. And let's be proud of Ipswich because of our environment. Ipswich, it's time to stand up.
Thanks very much, Steve, and thank you to Joanne. So, you know, Joanne and I might be in different political parties, but I have a great deal of respect for her. As Michael said earlier, she is not afraid of walking the walk. It's not all talk with Joanne, and I do really respect her for that. And as we've all been saying this whole time, it's time for this community to come together. It's really empowering to see so many people here, you know, nodding along with guest speakers, willing to take strong action, and that's what's going to get this project cancelled. It's the strength of this community, and I just wanted to really say thank you to everyone, because you've given me hope. You know, we shouldn't have to deal with these things in our backyards, and we've got real good hope that this project won't go ahead because of everyone here today, so thank you. On that note, we do want to get a big group picture of all of you wonderful people and all of these lovely faces so that we can show what a strong community response we've had. So if we can all crowd around, we've got this big banner here and we've got the steps for people to sit on, and we'll get a huge group picture of everyone. I do spot some media in the audience as well, so after everything is finished up, please feel free to approach any of the guest speakers, people in the crowd. You know, people in the crowd, obviously, if you don't want to speak to the media, that's absolutely fine, you don't need to, but we are very happy to speak and get our voices out there. We do have some information tents up the back as well, so I encourage you all to speak to them after the photo. And thank you very much for coming.